Hey everyone, it's BigSmoons with a Platinum Review, where I talk about the games that I have the Platinum Trophy, or 100% on, and what it took to get there. I also review the games based on the amount of fun I had. It's time to dive into Helheim and jumpstart Ragnarok. You're on a quest to defy death, and go head to head with the gods. Let's get started.
Land of mist and fog. The old fool was right.
I'm going to give a warning here, and it's the same warning that the game gives. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is best played with headphones. However, the audio from this game is meant to emulate psychosis. There are voices in your head that mock and degrade you. There is rarely a quiet moment of this game. You know you better than I do, and if you suffer from any form of psychosis or depression, then it may be best to steer clear from this game.
You will pay a price for this.
Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is an action-adventure game with some small puzzles. It was developed by Ninja Theory and released in 2017. The game is story-driven, with a focus on the main character and her own mental illness. You will follow her on her journey to save the soul of her fallen lover from the pits of Helheim. Senua believes that she is cursed, and this curse has led to voices in her head. The player discovers throughout the game that Senua actually suffers from psychosis.
Senua. Her story has already come to an end, but now it begins anew.
Hellblade kicks off with Senua paddling down a river at the border of Helheim. This is your introduction to the voices in Senua's head. They degrade and mock her. They make her question her decisions. They address the player directly and ask you to follow along on the journey. Right in front of you, after the boat stops, there is a lore stone that you can focus on to learn about some Norse mythology. Senua herself does not follow the Norse gods, but her lover was killed by them, so she needs to confront Hela to revive him.
Darkness comes from hell, and your fate lies there.
Following Senua through the outskirts of Helheim, you'll have to face off against characters such as Surt, the fire giant, Valraven, the god of illusions, and Garm, the guardian of Helheim. You'll have to test Senua's resolve by facing down demons, both internally and externally. There are some genuinely terrifying parts of this game, especially when you reach the Sea of Corpses.
Do you hear the suffering, Senua?
There are three pillars to the gameplay of Senua: traversing the map, puzzles, and combat. An interesting component of Hellblade is how the difficulty works. You can set the combat to easy to make the gameplay faster. However, the default setting is auto. This makes the combat sections more difficult the better you perform in them. I had some absolutely insane battles where I crushed all the enemies with parries and perfect dodges. This led me to getting stomped in the next battle, and then making that battle easier on a retry. The combat can be genuinely challenging depending on how well you've been performing up to the actual hard battles. When I first faced Valraven, I had barely been touched in a battle, up until the battle against him. This turned this battle into an absolute gauntlet of precise inputs to avoid damage, and to finish him off. The boss fights all have that sort of frantic feeling that I haven't felt outside of a Soulsborne game. The puzzles mostly consist of locating Norse runes blocking a door, and then locating them again in the environment. There are some times where you must use illusion gates to make walls disappear or appear to get through the area. Sometimes locating the runes is annoying, but it's mostly a fine way to break up combat. You traverse through several areas after you kick your boat away. Some of the locations are open and bright, while others are cramped and dark. Either way, the visuals are beautiful, even for a last-gen game.
Get down. What's she waiting for? Why did she do that? She should.
I don't typically talk about audio, but it feels necessary in this game. You absolutely need to play this game with headphones on. The voices in your ear become overwhelming at times, and it reflects what Senua is going through. There are no health bars, nor indicators of when to dodge or parry. The voices take that role here. They will tell you when you're almost dead, when the enemy is almost dead, and the most helpful thing, when an enemy is behind you about to attack. The clash of your sword when you hit a parry, and the follow-up of the blade against the enemy's flesh is wondrous. There's a section late in the game where you have to stay in the light while being hunted. That is terror-inducing with the help of the audio.
The light's gone out. Run! Get through it as quick as you can. The panic is...
I give Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice a 7 out of 10 for fun. The combat sections are inconsistent due to the adaptive difficulty. This leads to inevitable deaths when the game throws 20 enemies of various types at you all at once. There is no chapter select, nor save states, which can make wanting to replay the cool sections impossible without starting the entire game over. However, this is easily one of the scariest games I have played in the last couple of years, mainly due to the audio and late game sections. The puzzles are fairly weak and the combat sections can be repetitive, excluding the boss fights. The story and the audio really do a lot of the heavy lifting for the amount of fun I had. The gameplay itself left a lot to be desired.
Darkness. Bitter cold to the north. Fiery hot to the south.
Let's talk trophies. There are only 15 trophies including the platinum. You will earn all but one for completing the story. The one missable trophy is a chore though. This is due to the lack of chapter select I mentioned earlier. You must locate and listen to all the lore stones in the game. There are 44 of these pillars and there's no going back if you miss one. Luckily, they do carry over across playthroughs, so if you miss one, you don't have to play all the way to the end unless that's where you missed it. I highly recommend you follow a guide to locate these if you're going for a single playthrough platinum. The game itself can be completed in less than 10 hours and even shorter if you don't die a lot. In fact, there are no difficulty-based trophies, so you could just set the game to easy. This would probably allow you to mow down the swarms of enemies you have to face. The lack of chapter select really hurts my recommendation. I don't think that the gameplay warrants a second playthrough. If you can collect all the lore stones in a single playthrough, then I recommend you get that platinum.
He's already dead. She can save him.
Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm slowly crawling my way to more subscribers, and I thank everyone who watches these. Welcome to 2023. I hope we all have an excellent year. And remember, always be good to yourself.